Captain Jake Morrison stood at the bridge window of the UES Aurora, watching the massive alien ship grow larger as they approached. The Coalition flagship was 3 times the size of any human vessel, its dark metal surface covered with strange blue lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. After 200 years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. They were not alone, and they were about to meet their new neighbors. "Captain, we're receiving their docking instructions," said Lieutenant Kelly Barnes from the communications station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the excitement in her eyes. Everyone on the ship felt it. This was the most important day in human history. "Take us in slowly," Jake ordered. "And remember, everyone stays calm. We're representing all of humanity today." Dr. Lisa Hamilton adjusted her recording equipment one more time. As the ship's chief scientist, she would be studying everything about these aliens. She had spent months preparing for this moment, reading every report from the first contact team. The aliens called themselves the Galactic Coalition, and they ruled this part of space. They had been watching humanity for years, waiting for humans to develop faster-than-light travel. "They seem friendly enough," said Ambassador Helen Carter, smoothing down her formal dress uniform. "Their first message was very welcoming. They want to help us join the galactic community." Commander Alex Parker wasn't so sure. As head of security, he had to think about dangers. "Just because they're friendly doesn't mean we should trust them completely," he said quietly to Jake. "We don't know anything about their real intentions." The Aurora docked with a soft bump. Through the airlock came a group of aliens unlike anything humans had ever imagined. The leader was tall and graceful, with pale blue skin and large silver eyes. She moved like a dancer, and when she spoke, her voice was like music. "Welcome, humans of Earth," she said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Kethvar of the Zelani people. We have waited long to meet you." Behind her stood a much larger alien, covered in thick brown fur with small black eyes. He looked like he could crush a human with one hand, but his voice was surprisingly gentle. "I am General Morduk of the Bruthan Forces. We are here to protect and guide you." Ambassador Carter stepped forward with a wide smile. "Thank you for this warm welcome. We're honored to meet you and learn about your coalition." The aliens led them through corridors filled with beautiful artwork and soft lighting. Everything was designed to make visitors feel comfortable and welcome. They entered a large conference room where representatives from 5 other alien species waited. Each one looked different, but they all smiled and spoke of friendship and cooperation. "The galaxy can be a dangerous place for young species," explained Ambassador Kethvar as they sat around a circular table. "Many hostile forces exist in the outer regions. Pirates, raiders, and worse things that hunt developing civilizations." General Morduk nodded his massive head. "This is why the Coalition exists. We protect our member species and help them grow strong. Together, we are safe." Dr. Hamilton watched carefully as the aliens spoke. Something felt strange about their behavior. They all seemed to agree on everything, finishing each other's thoughts and nodding at exactly the same moments. It was like watching a well-rehearsed play. "What exactly would membership in the Coalition mean for humanity?" asked Jake. The aliens exchanged quick glances before Ambassador Kethvar answered. "We would share our technology with you. Our medical knowledge could end disease and extend human life. Our energy systems could power your worlds for thousands of years. Our manufacturing techniques could end poverty and hunger." "That sounds too good to be true," Commander Parker said suspiciously. "Not too good," said a small alien with green skin and large ears. "Simply the benefits of cooperation. We have learned that working together makes everyone stronger." Ambassador Carter leaned forward eagerly. "What would you need from us in return?" "Very little," said General Morduk. "Simply friendship and cooperation. We would establish advisory positions in your government to help guide your development. We would set up research stations on your worlds to study your unique biology and culture, and we would help you establish colonies in safe areas of Coalition space." Dr. Hamilton felt a chill run down her spine. The aliens were offering everything humanity had ever dreamed of. But they wanted to put their people in human government and study human biology. That didn't sound like an equal partnership. We would also provide military protection, continued Ambassador Keithvar. Your ships and weapons are primitive by galactic standards. Until you develop proper defenses, our forces would guard your space. How long would this arrangement last? Asked Jake. As long as necessary, said the green alien. Some species need guidance for decades. Others require centuries. It depends on how quickly they adapt to galactic civilization. Commander Parker noticed something else strange. Every time the aliens mentioned other species, they used past tense. They talked about species that had been guided, not species that were being guided. Where were all these other young civilizations? The meeting continued for hours. The aliens showed holographic displays of beautiful worlds where humans could build new colonies. They demonstrated medical devices that could heal any injury and computers that could solve any problem. They spoke of trade agreements that would make Earth incredibly wealthy, but they also made it clear that humanity had no choice. The galaxy knows about you now, said General Morduk. Word of your existence will spread. If you are not under coalition protection, others will come. Others who are not so friendly. Ambassador Carter was completely convinced. This is an incredible opportunity, she whispered to Jake. We'd be fools to refuse. Jake wasn't so sure. The aliens were offering everything too easily. In his experience, when something seemed too good to be true, it usually was. But he also knew that refusing might mean war with a galactic empire that had technology far beyond anything humans possessed. Dr. Hamilton continued taking notes and recordings. She noticed that her equipment was picking up unusual signals from the alien devices. It looked like they were scanning the humans constantly, recording everything they said and did. When she tried to point this out quietly to Commander Parker, one of the aliens immediately looked in their direction, as if they had heard her whisper from across the room. We understand this is a big decision, said Ambassador Keithvar, smiling with what looked like genuine warmth. We do not expect an immediate answer. Take time to consider our offer. Return to Earth and discuss it with your leaders. However, added General Morduk, we cannot wait forever. Other forces are already moving in this direction. For your own safety, we need your answer within 6 months. As the meeting ended, the aliens gave them data chips containing detailed information about the coalition, its technology, and the benefits of membership. They also provided star charts showing the locations where human colonies could be established. Walking back to the Aurora, Ambassador Carter couldn't stop talking about the wonderful future ahead. But Jake noticed that Commander Parker looked worried, and Dr. Hamilton kept checking her equipment with a frown. Something's not right about this, Alex said quietly once they were alone on their ship. What do you mean? Asked Jake. They're too eager, too organized. And did you notice how they kept talking about guiding us and protecting us? That doesn't sound like partnership. That sounds like control. Dr. Hamilton nodded. My scanners detected unusual activity during the meeting. I think they were recording more than just our words. They were analyzing our biology, our psychology, maybe even our genetics. But it was too late for doubts. The deal was already moving forward. Within weeks, the first human diplomats would return to Earth with the Coalition's offer. And Jake had a feeling that once humanity said yes, there would be no going back. 6 months had passed since the first meeting with the Coalition. Earth's leaders had voted to accept the aliens' offer, and now the first human colonies were being built in Coalition space. Captain Maria Torres stood on the observation deck of the UES Pioneer, watching as construction robots finished the last buildings of New Denver Colony. Everything looked perfect, just like the aliens had promised. The hospital is ready for operation, reported Dr. Sam Johnson, the colony's chief scientist. The Zilani medical advisors want to start health screenings for all colonists tomorrow. Maria nodded, but something bothered her about the way the aliens insisted on examining every human. They said it was to protect colonists from alien diseases, but their scanners seemed to do much more than simple health checks. Back on Earth, Colonel Ryan Davis sat in his office reading disturbing reports. As head of military intelligence, He had access to information that worried him greatly. The human colonies were all being placed in star systems far from major space routes. Each colony was at least 3 weeks' travel from the next one, making communication slow and difficult. "Sir, you need to see this," said Lieutenant Tom Price, entering with a stack of files. "I've been analyzing the locations of our colonies. Look at this pattern." Ryan studied the star charts. Every human settlement was isolated, surrounded by empty space or coalition military bases. It looked less like expansion and more like containment. "There's something else," Tom continued. "I've been researching the other species in the coalition. According to their own records, most of them joined over 1,000 years ago, but their technology hasn't advanced much since then. It's like they stopped innovating after joining. Meanwhile, Dr. Johnson was making his own discoveries on New Denver. The alien technology they'd been given was impressive, but incomplete. The power generators worked perfectly, but humans couldn't understand how they functioned. The medical equipment could diagnose any illness, but the treatment methods were kept secret by the Zilani advisors. It's like they're giving us the benefits without the knowledge," Sam told Captain Torres during their daily meeting. "We're becoming dependent on them for everything." Torres had noticed something else troubling. The coalition advisors were asking detailed questions about human military capabilities, population numbers, and resource production. They claimed it was for colony optimization, but it felt more like intelligence gathering. "Captain, we have a problem," said Communications Officer Linda Gray. "I've been trying to send our weekly report to Earth, but the message keeps getting delayed. The Zilani say it's due to solar interference, but the interference only seems to affect our outgoing messages." On Earth, Captain Jake Morrison had been promoted to Admiral and was now overseeing all human space operations. He spent his days reviewing reports from the colonies, and what he read made him increasingly worried. The colonies were producing detailed information about human society, but very little news was coming back about what the colonists were actually experiencing. Dr. Lisa Hamilton had continued her research on coalition species, and her findings were disturbing. She had obtained biological samples from several alien species and discovered something shocking in their genetic structure. "Jake, you need to see this," she said, calling him to her laboratory. "I've been studying the DNA of coalition species. Look at these patterns." She showed him computer displays of genetic sequences. Every coalition species shows signs of artificial modification. Someone has been changing their genetics for thousands of years. "What kind of changes?" Jake asked. "Changes that make them more cooperative, less aggressive, less likely to question authority. It's like someone has been breeding the fight out of them." Colonel Davis was conducting his own investigation into coalition history. He had found references to species that had tried to leave the coalition or resist their guidance. These species had either disappeared completely or suffered mysterious population collapses. "Lieutenant Price, look at this," Ryan said, pointing to an old coalition record. The Cathani were a warrior species known for their independence. They joined the coalition 3,000 years ago. Within 500 years, they had become peaceful farmers who never questioned coalition decisions. "That's not necessarily bad, sir," Tom replied. "Maybe joining the coalition made them more civilized. Or maybe the coalition made them more controllable," Ryan said grimly. Back on New Denver, strange things were happening to some of the colonists. Several people had reported feeling unusually calm and cooperative after receiving their medical treatments. They seemed less interested in questioning the colony advisors' decisions and more willing to follow instructions without debate. Dr. Johnson decided to secretly analyze the medical treatments being given to colonists. What he found made his blood run cold. The injections contained more than just vaccines and vitamins. There were microscopic machines that seemed designed to affect brain chemistry. "Maria, we have a serious problem," he told Captain Torres in private. "The medical treatments contain nanotechnology that appears to influence behavior. People are becoming more passive and obedient." Torres felt a chill of fear. "Are you sure?" "I've run the tests 3 times. The nanobots are designed to reduce aggression and increase compliance. They're changing people's personalities." Meanwhile, Commander Alex Parker had been assigned to investigate coalition military capabilities. What he discovered was both impressive and terrifying. The coalition had massive fleets of ships, but they were all controlled by centralized command systems. There was no room for individual initiative or creative tactics. It's like they've forgotten how to think for themselves, Alex reported to Admiral Morrison. Their military is powerful but predictable. Everything follows standard procedures. Dr. Hamilton made another disturbing discovery while researching coalition archaeology. On several coalition worlds, she found ruins of advanced civilizations that had existed before the current species joined the coalition. These ruins showed evidence of technology and art far more sophisticated than what the coalition species had today. It's like they used to be more advanced, she told Jake. Then something happened that made them simpler, more primitive. Something that made them forget their own history. Colonel Davis found the answer in a classified coalition document that had been accidentally included in a data transfer. The Aten document was written in an ancient language that took weeks to translate, but when he finally decoded it, the truth was horrifying. The coalition wasn't really controlled by any of the species that humans had met. Behind them was something called the hegemony, an ancient race that had perfected the art of controlling other civilizations. They would find promising species, offer them technology and protection, then gradually modify them genetically and mentally until they became obedient servants. The process takes several generations, Davis read from the translated document. First, we establish dependency through technology. Then we isolate their populations to prevent resistance movements. Finally, we introduce biological modifications that ensure compliance. The species believes they have joined as equals, but they have actually become our tools. The document listed dozens of species that had been processed this way over thousands of years. Each one had started as a proud, independent civilization and ended as a docile client state serving the hegemony's expansion. Most terrifying of all, the document included a section titled Human Integration Protocol. It described humanity as exceptionally aggressive and innovative, and noted that special measures will be required to ensure proper conditioning. Ryan immediately tried to contact Admiral Morrison, but his communications were blocked. He tried to send the information through other channels, but every message was intercepted. The coalition was already monitoring all human communications and preventing the spread of dangerous information. On New Denver, Captain Torres received an announcement from the Zilani advisors. We are pleased to inform you that Phase 2 of the Colony Development Program will begin next week. All colonists will receive enhanced medical treatments to protect them from new threats we have detected in this sector. Dr. Johnson knew what that really meant. The hegemony was ready to begin the serious biological modification of humans. Once Phase 2 started, the colonists would gradually lose their independence and creativity, becoming willing servants of the coalition. But there was no way to warn Earth without the aliens intercepting the message. The human colonies were trapped, isolated in space and surrounded by coalition forces. The aliens had spoken of peace and cooperation, but they had been plotting humanity's enslavement from the very beginning. As Torres looked out at the beautiful colony buildings, she realized that New Denver wasn't humanity's first step toward galactic citizenship. It was their first step toward becoming just another obedient species in the coalition's vast collection of servants. The trap was closing, and humanity didn't even know it yet. Dr. Ben Clark stared at the genetic analysis results on his computer screen. His hands shook as he read the data for the third time. The tissue samples from coalition species all showed the same pattern of artificial changes. Someone had been modifying their DNA for thousands of years, slowly removing their natural aggression and independent thinking. This is impossible, he whispered to himself. But the evidence was clear. Every coalition species had been genetically altered to be more obedient and less creative. The modifications were so subtle that they looked almost natural, but Ben's advanced equipment could detect the artificial patterns. The door to his laboratory opened quietly. Admiral Kate Williams entered, looking around nervously. As head of Earth's Defense Forces, she had been investigating reports of strange behavior in the colonies. "Dr. Clark, I need you to look at something," she said, handing him a sealed container. "These are blood samples from colonists who have been receiving coalition medical treatments. Tell me what you find." Ben ran the samples through his analyzer. Within minutes, the results appeared on his screen. His face went pale. "Admiral, these people have been infected with microscopic machines. The nanobots are changing their brain chemistry, making them more passive and compliant." "How long before the changes become permanent?" Kate asked. "Based on these readings, maybe 6 months. After that, they'll never be able to think independently again. They'll be happy servants of the coalition." In the outer colonies, Commander, Nick Foster was secretly meeting with other humans who had noticed the changes in their friends and family. Nick had been a Marine before joining the colony program, and his military training helped him spot the signs of mental conditioning. "My wife used to argue with me about everything," said colonist Mike Chen, his voice filled with worry. "Now she just agrees with whatever the Zilani advisors say. She smiles all the time, but it's not her real smile." "The same thing happened to my brother," added Sarah Lopez. "He used to be a rebel, always questioning authority. Now he volunteers for extra work shifts and never complains about anything." Nick had been quietly organizing these people into a resistance group. They called themselves Free Humanity, and they were trying to find ways to help the affected colonists and warn Earth about the coalition's true intentions. "We need to get word back to Earth," Nick told his small group. "But every message we send gets blocked or changed. The coalition is controlling all our communications." On Earth, Captain Jake Morrison had been promoted to Admiral, but he felt powerless. The reports from the colonies were becoming stranger and more troubling. Colonists were reporting perfect health and happiness, but their families on Earth said they seemed like different people. Dr. Lisa Hamilton burst into his office with a stack of ancient tablets. "Jake, I found something incredible. These are from an archaeological site on Kepler 442b. They're written by a species called the Valdani, and they tell the story of their first contact with the coalition." Jake looked at the translated text. The story was eerily familiar. The coalition had arrived offering technology and protection. They had established colonies and provided medical care. Then, over several generations, the Valdani had lost their creativity and independence, becoming willing servants. "According to this, the Valdani were master engineers and artists," Lisa continued. "They built cities that floated in the clouds and created music that could heal emotional wounds. But look at their descendants today." Jake knew what she meant. The modern Valdani were simple farmers who showed no creativity or artistic ability. They followed coalition instructions without question and seemed content with their basic lives. "The coalition didn't just conquer them," Lisa said. "They erased everything that made them unique." Colonel Ryan Davis had been working day and night to decode more coalition documents. What he discovered was worse than anyone had imagined. The coalition was controlled by an ancient species called the hegemony, beings who had perfected the art of enslaving entire civilizations. "They've been doing this for 50,000 years, Ryan told Admiral Williams during a secret meeting. "They find promising species, offer them rapid advancement, then slowly modify them until they become obedient tools." "How many species have they processed?" Kate asked. "Thousands. The galaxy used to be full of independent civilizations. Now it's all controlled by the hegemony, and most species don't even know they're slaves." Ryan showed her a holographic map of the galaxy. "These red dots are species that were conquered by force. These blue dots are species that were enslaved through the coalition method. There are 100 blue dots for every red one." "Why do they prefer the slow method?" Kate wondered. "Because willing slaves are more useful than broken ones. A species that chooses to serve is more productive and creative than one that's been crushed. The coalition method preserves useful skills while removing the desire for independence." Meanwhile, Dr. Johnson on New Denver had made a terrifying discovery. While analyzing the colony's medical records, he found that the genetic modifications were accelerating. The nanobots were adapting to human biology and working faster than expected. "Captain Torres, we have a crisis," he told Maria during an emergency meeting. "The modifications are happening much faster in humans than in other species. Our aggressive nature is making us resistant, so the nanobots are increasing their activity. What does that mean? Maria asked. It means we have weeks, not months, before the changes become permanent. And there's something else. The nanobots are designed to be inherited by children. Once a generation is fully modified, all their descendants will be born as natural servants. On Earth, Commander Alex Parker had been studying coalition military tactics and found a disturbing pattern. Every time a species tried to resist the integration process, they faced overwhelming force. But there were a few cases where species had fought back successfully, at least for a while. The key is unpredictability, Alex explained to a secret meeting of Earth's military leaders. The coalition's strength comes from their ability to predict and control. Their computers can calculate the best response to any traditional military strategy. So how do we fight something that can predict our every move? Asked General Robert Stone. We use the one thing they can't predict, Alex replied. Human creativity and stubbornness. We do things that don't make sense, that go against all military logic. We be as chaotic and unpredictable as possible. Dr. Hamilton had been working with resistance members in the colonies to gather more evidence. What they found was a secret coalition facility on the edge of human space. The facility contained thousands of genetic samples and detailed psychological profiles of every human in the colonies. They're not just modifying us, she reported to Jake. They're studying us, learning everything about human nature so they can perfect their control methods. But the most shocking discovery came from an unexpected source. A Zalani scientist named Veltar had been secretly helping the human resistance. She revealed that not all coalition members were willing servants of the hegemony. My people were artists and philosophers, Veltar told Nick Foster during a clandestine meeting. We created beautiful things and asked deep questions about the universe. Now we can barely remember what we used to be. She explained that a few individuals from each species retained some memories of their original nature, but they had to hide these memories or face punishment. The hegemony fears independence above all else. They would rather destroy a species than let them remain free. Then why are you helping us? Nick asked. Because humans are different, Veltar replied. Your resistance to the modifications is stronger than any species we've seen. You might be the key to freeing all of us. The revelation that some coalition members wanted freedom gave the resistance new hope, but it also revealed the true scope of the hegemony's control. They weren't just enslaving humanity. They had been enslaving the entire galaxy for thousands of years. As reports of the accelerated modifications came in from the colonies, Earth's leaders realized they were running out of time. The coalition was about to announce Phase 3 of the integration process, which would extend the modifications to Earth itself. We have to act now, Admiral Williams told the Emergency Council. If we wait any longer, there won't be any free humans left to fight back. The trap was closing, but humanity was beginning to understand the true nature of their enemy. The question was whether they could organize effective resistance before the modifications made them willing slaves of the hegemony forever. Admiral Kate Williams stood in the command center watching the countdown clock. In 12 hours, the coalition would begin Phase 3 of their integration plan. Massive ships were already moving toward Earth, carrying enough nanobots to modify every human on the planet. But humanity was not going to surrender without a fight. Operation Defiance is ready to begin, reported Admiral Jake Morrison from the bridge of the UES Freedom. Around Earth, hundreds of human ships waited in hidden positions. They were smaller and weaker than coalition vessels, but they had one advantage the aliens couldn't predict. They were commanded by humans who refused to follow the rules. In the colonies, Commander Nick Foster led his resistance fighters in the most desperate mission of their lives. They had to destroy the coalition's control centers before the modifications could be completed. Nick's team had been joined by rebels from other species, aliens who had secretly kept their memories of freedom. Remember, we don't fight like them, Nick told his mixed group of humans and aliens. We do the unexpected. We take crazy risks. We fight like we have nothing to lose. Dr. Ben Clark and Dr. Sam Johnson had worked together to create something the coalition had never faced before. They called it the Liberation Virus. a biological program that could reverse the genetic modifications and wake up the enslaved minds of coalition species. The virus will spread through their communication networks, Ben explained to the assembled resistance leaders. Once it reaches their control systems, it will begin undoing 50,000 years of genetic slavery. But they needed to get the virus to the coalition's central command ship, and that meant someone had to fly directly into the heart of the enemy fleet. Captain Maria Torres volunteered for the suicide mission. "I'll ram my ship into their flagship," she said calmly. "The virus will spread through their systems before they can stop it." "Maria, that's a death sentence," Admiral Williams protested. "Maybe," Maria replied, "but if it works, we'll free the entire galaxy. That's worth one life." The battle began at exactly midnight Earth time. Coalition ships dropped out of hyperspace expecting to find a defenseless planet. Instead, they found human vessels attacking from every direction at once. The aliens' computers couldn't calculate responses fast enough because the humans weren't following any logical pattern. Commander Alex Parker led a squadron of fighters in a head-on assault against ships 10 times their size. His pilots flew in wild, unpredictable patterns that confused the coalition's targeting systems. They dove between enemy ships, used debris as cover, and attacked from impossible angles. "This is insane," radioed Lieutenant Kelly Barnes as she flew her fighter through a gap barely wider than her ship. "Exactly," Alex replied. "Insane is what we do best." On the coalition flagship, Ambassador Kethavar watched the battle with growing alarm. The humans were fighting like madmen, taking risks that no rational species would attempt. Their tactics made no sense, but they were working. "General Morduk, our forces are taking heavy losses," she reported. "The humans are using strategies our computers cannot predict." "Impossible," the large alien replied. "No species can defeat the coalition's superior technology." But the humans were proving him wrong. They turned cargo ships into bombs, used civilian vessels as shields, and coordinated attacks through methods the coalition couldn't intercept. Earth's internet, which the aliens had ignored as primitive, became a weapon that allowed instant communication between human forces. Dr. Lisa Hamilton had discovered the location of the hegemony's secret masters. They were hiding in a space station, at the center of coalition territory, protected by layers of defensive systems. But she had also found their weakness. "The entire coalition is controlled by only 12 individuals," she announced over the Resistance communication network. "If we can reach them, we can shut down the whole system." Admiral Morrison led a strike force toward the hegemony station, while the main battle raged around Earth. His ships flew through coalition space using routes that made no tactical sense, jumping randomly between star systems to avoid detection. "Sir, this course will take us through 3 different minefields," warned his navigation officer. "Good," Jake replied. "They won't expect anyone to be that stupid." Back at Earth, the battle was reaching its climax. Captain Torres began her final run toward the coalition flagship. Her ship was badly damaged, but she pushed it forward through the wall of enemy fire. Other human ships formed a protective corridor around her, sacrificing themselves to clear her path. "Liberation virus is ready for deployment," reported Dr. Johnson from the ship's science station. "Maria, you don't have to do this," came Admiral Williams's voice over the radio. "We can find another way." "No time," Maria replied as enemy fire tore through her ship's hull. "Besides, this is what humans do. We fight for each other." She crashed her ship into the coalition flagship at full speed. The explosion was visible from Earth's surface, a bright star that flared and died in seconds. But as the ship's systems merged with the coalition network, the liberation virus began to spread. On coalition ships throughout the galaxy, something unprecedented happened. Alien crew members began to remember who they used to be. The Valdani remembered their floating cities and healing music. The Cathani remembered their warrior traditions. The Zalani remembered their artistic nature and philosophical questions. "What have we done?" whispered Ambassador Kethavar as her own memories returned. "We helped them enslave our children." The coalition fleet suddenly stopped fighting. Alien commanders who had been loyal servants moments before were now looking at their human opponents with new understanding. Many began turning their weapons on the hegemony control ships. Admiral Morrison's strike force reached the hegemony station just as the Liberation virus completed its work. The 12 ancient masters of the coalition found themselves facing not just human warships, but rebels from every species they had enslaved. "This is impossible," transmitted one of the hegemony leaders. "You cannot defeat 50,000 years of careful planning." "Watch us," Jake replied. The final battle was brief but decisive. The hegemony's advanced weapons were no match for the combined fury of 1,000 species fighting for their freedom. Ships that had been enemies minutes before now fought side by side against their former masters. When the smoke cleared, the hegemony station was destroyed and their control over the galaxy was broken. Species that had been enslaved for millennia were free to remember their true nature and rebuild their civilizations. Dr. Clark's Liberation virus continued to spread, reversing genetic modifications and awakening suppressed memories throughout Coalition space. The galaxy that had been a prison for so long was suddenly alive with the voices of free peoples. On Earth, the celebration lasted for weeks. Humanity had not only saved themselves, but had become the liberators of the entire galaxy. Representatives from hundreds of species came to thank the humans who had refused to accept slavery. Admiral Morrison, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, welcomed the former coalition species to a new alliance. Unlike the old coalition, this one would be based on true cooperation and mutual respect. "We learned something important," he told the assembled representatives. "Freedom isn't something you can give to someone. It's something they have to fight for themselves. We just reminded you how to fight." Ambassador Kethavar, now speaking for the Free Zalani people, stepped forward. "Humans of Earth, you have given us back our souls. Your stubborn refusal to submit has broken chains we forgot we wore. The galaxy would never be the same. Where, once there had been a single voice of control, now there were thousands of voices speaking in harmony. Species began to rediscover their lost arts, their forgotten sciences, their abandoned dreams. And at the center of it all was humanity, the species that had been too stubborn to accept easy answers and too proud to bow to superior force. They had shown the galaxy that freedom was worth any price, and that sometimes the greatest victory came not from superior technology, but from the simple refusal to give up. The stars belonged to the free once again.